Hi, and welcome to Candle Me, Candle You, Candle Making Workshop, presented by Serving Tea with Janji B. I am your host, Janji B, and I am here today to teach you how to make vibrant soy wax candles. So sit back, relax, and be ready to learn. So let's jump into what you'll need to make your vibrant soy wax candles. You will need 1 pound of soy wax. You will need something to secure them, so these wick stickers are perfect for securing your wicks for a clean burn. You will need a vessel to burn your melt your wax into. So this is a melting pot and a wooden spoon. I recommend a wooden spoon for stirring. You will need a thermometer that drops down into the wax as it's melting. You will need to pre-make labels for the vessels that the candles will be held into. You also need some type of dye, whether it's liquid or chip. Here today I'm using a chip dye for these candles, and it's going to be a purplish red color, so I'm very excited to see how this turns out. And these are the cotton wicks that are going to ensure we get a clean burn. And next you're going to need the wicking tools. So the one I'm showing you here is for making single wick candles, and this one is for making 3 wick candles. So we can use it as single as well, but they can be used for that purpose. I recommend gloves, especially when pouring in the fragrance. Keep some gloves nearby. I have here fragrance from Candle Science. They promote that they make clean scents, so I recommend Candle Science for buying any fragrances. And then next we're gonna talk about the vessel. I have here 10 vessels to pour the melted wax into to turn into the candles, and a wick cutter. If you don't have a wick cutter, I would recommend using scissors. And lastly, you're going to need a scale. So let's talk about why it's important to select the wax you want to do. So there are many different waxes out there that you can choose from. I personally use soy wax, and to ensure a clean burn, and soy wax burns longer than most wax. Outside of beeswax, it has a long and slow burn time. So you can tell the difference between soy wax and parfum and everyone else because soy wax comes in these flakes, which makes them easy to burn. They have a low melting point for getting this to go from its solid state to a liquid wax. Okay, so this is a container wax specifically made for container candles. Waxes can be for different types of candles, so you want to make sure you're not getting a wax for something like a votive candle or a tea light candle. So you want to make sure you're getting something specifically for containers and that it will burn efficiently into your container. So let's jump into talking about the fragrance and the wax. In order to pair them perfectly, you want to read the directions on your fragrance container to see what the melting point is, as well as your wax. So for this here, it tells me that I can use specifically for this wax of 1 ounce of this fragrance per pound of this wax. And this will give me the scent throw that I'm looking for. So if you want a stronger scent, then make sure you're not exceeding what your label for the fragrance and the wax say that they are able to do. Too much fragrance will put oil-like in your candle and it won't burn properly, and not enough will have an unscented candle. So make sure that everything is flowing cohesively out. Okay, now let's talk about melting point. So a great melting point will be something that's in between the numbers that's on your fragrance and your candle wax. So to ensure that we're not going to burn anything, we're going to keep that number in mind between the two of those. So before you get your wax actually melted, let's go ahead and take the tops off your vessels. These have been pre-cleaned. I cleaned them already prior to the video. I would recommend cleaning your vessels before making a candle to ensure no hair or anything is in them or processing and packaging has been left behind. So I'm going to go ahead and label all of these vessels using my pre-made labels here that I did from Avery. They were very beginner friendly to me with the templates that were available. I'm not really feeling this one right here. I actually got a little bit of the candle dye onto that one. So I'm going to use this one here. I have a clean surface and I'm going to press this label right across there. I mean, that was pretty simple, pressing that across there, and it looks great. It's ready for the next step. But we're going to go ahead and label a few more of these. And when you're doing your candles, if you're doing these for personal, it's okay to do one candle across the top, and that'll be perfectly fine. If these are for consumers, you're gonna sell this to someone, you do want to put the warning label for burning and trimming the candle at the bottom of your vessel. So because these right here are not for consumers, I don't have to put those labels on there. But again, I do recommend if you're planning to sell these, please put a warning label at the bottom of your tin to save yourself some time and hassle. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and wick these. This process right here is actually pretty common for me. I like to take the wicking stickers off one at a time, and I'm going to place it in the most center part of the actual wick. And this part is so crucial to ensure that your candle burns properly, is to secure your wick. When I first started making candles, I didn't do this process, and my wicks would eventually lean over to the side and they would burn the side of my jars pretty bad. So these wicking stickers are a lifesaver, and they ensure that your candle burns completely. And placement of this matters 100%. You want to get this at the center of your vessel, whether it's a jar, whether it's a tin, and you want to make sure you're pressing into this all the way around. Circles don't have corners, but you're gonna need every corner on the circle to ensure that it is secure in place. And I'm gonna do another one for y'all just to give you another show of it. So you're gonna take it off, and then you're going to place it directly in the centermost part. You're gonna make sure you're covering the wick so that wick is not touching the bottom of your vessel. The sticker and the sticker only should be touching the bottom. So again, I'm gonna secure this one into place, show you all that. And these wicking candles are ready for a wicking good time. So yeah, now that they're secure, you see I can drop it down like this and it doesn't go anywhere. It's still centered just like I placed it, which is important. Okay, so now let's go ahead and weigh out our 1 pound of wax. I don't have the scale turned towards you all because I'm trying to ensure that I actually do have 1 pound. I weighed this 3 times before actually doing the video, but we're gonna weigh it one more time just to ensure. We're gonna make sure everything is flowing properly. We don't want more wax than we have fragrance. We don't want more fragrance than we have wax. So yeah, this came out perfectly at 1 pound. So when you're boiling your water for your candle, you want to make sure it doesn't do a rapid boil. We're not trying to actually cook the candle. We're just trying to get the wax to a melting point. So I'm going to melt my wax and fragrance at a temperature of about 160 degrees. That is a midpoint for my fragrance that I have and for my wax, so it's going to be perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and place my wicking jar into this water. As you can see, there is no bubbling under this. And if your wax starts to bubble, or the water starts to bubble, you want to turn it down. And please do not walk away from this melting wax. It doesn't take long for the temperature to go up. Like I said, it has a low melting point for this wax. So I'm going to go ahead and place my thermometer way in here, deep as far as I can, to ensure, because this is going to melt down. So it's in chip form right now, but as you can see, it is melting down to a semi-liquid. And I love using wooden spoons because of how they conduct heat, and I don't have to worry about the plastic or anything staying into the wax as it's melting. So I'm going to go ahead and press my thermometer down further in here. As you all can see, it started to come up and it's melting. You see the steam coming from the pot itself, but you don't see any bubbles, and it's melting into this goo. Like, this is what it looks like. Still no bubbles in the pot itself, but it is melting, and I still have the thermometer in there to keep up with the temperature. So now that we have it completely melted, we're going to go ahead and add in 1 dye stick. Remember, you want to read the instructions for everything before utilizing them. The instructions on this says that I can use 1 chip per pound. So that's all we're going to put in here, is that 1 chip. I don't want to oversaturate it, and I'm going to give it a good stir and allow it to melt. So I'm going to keep this in mind, that I still want to ensure that I'm not burning the wax. So I'm still keeping it at that temperature of about 160 or around that temperature, a little less. So we're gonna give that a moment and it's gonna melt. But as you can see, it's already turning colors for me. I see the purplish coming out, and I'm keeping the thermometer in. You remember, keep the thermometer in as long as it's on the stove or your cooking utensil. So we're gonna give this a good stir. And I'm liking this color already, y'all. I like to see it change before my eyes. Remember, it was just a flake. So at this point, it's a good point to go ahead and add in my fragrance. I only have a little piece of that chip left, so it's not going to take much longer for it to dissolve. I'm going to go ahead and pour in my 1 ounce of fragrance. And again, we're still at 160. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a good stir, and I would recommend stirring it for at least a good 1 to 2 minutes, 1 minute minimum, to get it all blended in very well. And then we're actually going to allow this to cool. I prefer to pour my soy wax at a temperature of about roughly 140 to 145. We don't want the wax to crack into the vessel. Just as important as it is to not burn it as it's cooking, you also want to keep the temperature check before pouring it into, because if it's too hot, it's only going to crack. So at this point in time, I'm going to wipe everything down. It's at a cooling temperature of 145, just like I want it. So by the time I actually pour it into the vessel, it's going to be about 140. So that little movement will cool it down. And as you can see, the thermometer in the background is going crazy as it cools down. So I'm going to go ahead and take that out, and I'm going to wick these. So the single wick ones is easy. You just slide them in there, easy peasy. That's as simple as that gets. And for the 3 wick ones, I normally use the center one, and I place it on top just like this. You want to go ahead and do this before the candle wax hits, before you actually pour the wax in there, because you don't want to move your candles after you have poured the wax until they are completely solidified, so completely cooled from top to bottom. So I have them spread out here. They're already labeled. So the only thing I need to do is actually go ahead and pour these in. Now you want to keep some napkins for this part, because it will do a little spill on the side as you're pouring each one. So I recommend keeping one on hand. So we're going to go ahead and pour this into the level. There's a little line in the inside of the vessel that lets you know where to stop. So I'm going to stop there. I'm going to give it a slight wipe, and I'm going to continue on to the next vessel. And we're going to keep this process until all of them are completely filled to each line, and I'm going to allow them to chill completely without moving them. No shaking, no moving the table, nothing. Just allow these to chill as they need time. Allow them to come to their room temperature. And again, they have a low melting point, which means they have a low cooling point. So these are going to chill pretty fastly. These are some 4-ounce containers, so I would say about 3 hours they should be solidified just like this. Look how beautiful they are. Okay, so let's talk about wicking. These candles have been pre-wicked already prior to the video, but what I do want to show you is the importance of not cutting your wicks too close to the candle itself, or to the wax itself more so. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clip this one shorter than what it needs to be, and then I'll show you up close what's the difference between the two. So this is absolutely too short, and this one here is 1/4 exactly where it needs to be. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to Candle Me Candle You.